Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, July 20th. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Sonia Srivastava. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, many felt that there was a communication gap this past January when a metro train carrying dozens of passengers started to fill up with smoke in a tunnel below LaFont Plaza. One person died in the incident. Today, officials are announcing the creation of a full-time fire and rescue liaison position. The uniformed officer will work in the Metro Rail Nerve Center and help coordinate emergency communication between the agency and first responders.
I believe that the liaison will be able to provide that critical information in the first couple of minutes of an incident that would improve our response.
The Fire Rescue Liaison will also develop policy recommendations, provide supplemental emergency training for our rail operations controllers. And Metro has committed to the initial funding so that we can get this off the ground immediately.
Now, officials say the new position has been in the works for years. Since July 1st, the liaison has assisted in 16 incidents so far.
WMATA's maintenance personnel, which is not necessarily, it's clearly not someone on a train, reporting EMS incidents at a station. I'm not sure what stations. I don't have that information with me. But reporting that EMS information, that liaison's able to analyze that information immediately and help the people inside the rock get the right information to the 911 centers. Where before it may have just been the maintenance person saying, hey, I've got someone down, and the person.
Now, currently $250,000 have been allocated for the position by WMATA.
The Cuban flag flies over its embassy as it reopens for the first time since 1961. This was the scene this morning on 16th Street Northwest shortly after the flag was raised and images were posted on flat-screen TVs. President Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro agreed earlier this year to reestablish diplomatic relations. The area around the embassy was packed with supporters who came to witness the event firsthand.
Diplomatic relationships will allow us and more Americans and other people to see it themselves and then hopefully impart some change because of what they see.
Personally, I think it's a big step forward in progress. This is just the beginning. Once if they can get rid of the embargo and total blockade and normalize relations, give back Guantanamo Bay, I think then it'll be on a track to be a real normal relations with the country.
And the American flag will fly above the U.S. Embassy in Havana at a ceremony set for next month.
Well, some second quarter fundraising figures that are being reported by congressional candidates aren't showing the full picture. The Federal Election Commission received more than a dozen reports from political hopefuls. Former County Councilwoman Ingrid Turner, who's running in Maryland's 4th congressional district, sent a press release saying that her grassroots efforts raised more than $260,000, to which 75% of the donations were $100 or less. However, reports showed that $220,000 of it came from a loan that the candidate made to her campaign. Now, Delegate Jocelyn Pena Melnick, who's running for the same seat, reported raising $210,000, but only raised $168,000.
Some special interest groups and business corporations seem to be top spenders in Annapolis, according to the State Ethics Commission. The Maryland State Education Association spent more on lobbying lawmakers than any other organization or company. The teachers union reported spending $446,000 from November 2014 through April of this year. The second largest taxpayer, Exelon Corporation, the Chicago-based energy company, paid nearly $370,000 for political backing. Some other industry groups and entities that spent the most during last year's General Assembly session include the Maryland Hospital Association, Care First, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Baltimore Gas and Electric.
Well, bring out your sunblock and water because it is hot and humid outside. Our region is under a heat advisory from noon until 8 p.m. The National Weather Service says the heat index will get up to about 109 degrees. Now, CTV spoke to residents about how they feel about dealing with all this heat.
Lots of water, lots of ice, and make sure my guys are well hydrated. And I've got ice in my truck, ice in my cooler. And then we go inside if we have to. We get too hot.
Drink a lot of water. I have ice water inside. I go in about every 10 or 15 minutes. I make sure if I start feeling any kind of heat on my skin, I go in. I don't have any sunscreen or anything else on now, But staying cool is just basically drinking a lot of water.
Well, we take short walks, not too long, just enough for him to do what he needs to do, and to make sure that he has a lot of water as well.
What do you do to handle all of this heat? Well, the CDC suggests, you guessed it, drinking a lot of water, avoiding those alcoholic beverages, staying in an air-conditioned place, and to wear light-colored clothing. All of those are good tips, and certainly was a scorcher out there today. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Sonia Shrivastava.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.